Stigma-free. You know, I feel very honored to be a small part of the mosaic here in Morris County when it comes to stigma-free. And I would be so remiss if I didn't thank the Jen Carpentaries of the world, Lori, Beth, John Bonani, the freeholders, who have supported this concept prior to me being here. And hopefully collectively, I've added a little to it. But as you go down the lane, I think we're all going to be participating in this. And I think it's absolutely tremendous, so thank you. Trish O'Keefe. Trish, as the president of Morristown Medical Center, you do a phenomenal job, Dr. O'Keefe. But when I look at you and I talk to you, and I've known you for a long time, I think of your role as a registered nurse. And I have to believe that the teachings and your early years in this life have shaped your current years of being a nurse and really getting it. A lot going on here, a lot of building. There's a lot of development. There's all good things happening for the residents that are served here. But you never lose sight of that patient, that client, and I applaud you for that there. Lastly, I want to thank the Morris County Sheriff's Office. You know, I am very honored to be the 77th Sheriff of Morris County. We have a Bureau of Law Enforcement, and Hope One is out front, and you may have heard of it. Okay? But we bang the drum a lot because I am so darn proud to be the sheriff. I have, you know, people here. I have Corporal Valvano, who I call the mother of Hope One, who really makes certain that that's going down the lane and doing the good thing for the people of Morris County. I have Travis Somerville, an officer here, and I can't be prouder of you folks for what you're doing there. You know, Hope One and these programs, let's say, that we're doing in the Sheriff's Office are outcomes of tragedy, right? They're outcomes of tragedy. My previous life, I spent 19 years in the homicide unit here in the Morris County Prosecutor's Office. So we spent much of our time on people who had died. You know, people who had died from overdose, people who have died from suicide. So those experiences all come together as we're developing plans to deal with it. So year to date, we have roughly 74 people who have died in Morris County as a result of drug overdose. You know, that indicates that we're trending at 48% above last year's high number. You know, the median age is 36. You tend to think it's a kid problem. But we know the span in the last 20 months is roughly 16 to 75, right? People who are dying from drug overdose in this beautiful county of Morris. So what do we do about it? What do we do about it? So I got together with people who were extremely bright, and with the people I mentioned, Jen and Lori, and we spoke about Hope One. What do we need to do this? We need a vehicle, right? Because our mission is to go out into the community, to bring services to the client, right? For many years, we've been pulling clients into services. Let's bring the services to the client. That's a new approach. Okay, we need a vehicle. I had a SWAT vehicle, a Special Weapons and Tactics we call CERT vehicle. It looks more like Anthony's bread truck, right? But we had the vehicle, and we talked to the professionals. We said we have to make it stigma-free, right? We have to make it due to co-occurring illness that we heard about this morning. We have to make it inviting to people. Take those police lights off and take the sheriff's star off. Okay? Purple bunting, let's make it nice. Because this vehicle is going to be out in the community. We need Wi-Fi so we can operate our computers, and we need a place for coffee, donuts, and educational material. You know, it is a police operation. But, you know, so we need to have coffee, because all conversation begins with a cup of coffee, right? This morning, Trish and I spoke over a cup of coffee, right? All conversation begins over a cup of coffee, especially when people need services, right? Educational material and all that. And we need 3 positions. We need a sheriff's officer in plain clothes because we don't want to scare anyone, right? That's going to make sure the environment is safe and is going to provide any services that we can in this county. We need partnerships with private entities. You know, this is a private-public partnership. That's how things work. Okay? So we need CARES in Rockaway Borough. Great relationship with them. We need somebody that's like a certified peer recovery specialist. Someone that's walked the walk of addiction that can talk to people in the community. And we need somebody from the Mental Health Association of Morris and Essex and Morris. Okay? But we need someone that understands mental illness. Nadine, you don't get any better. So here we are going out into the community. And phase 1 was identified as going to the at-risk population. These are people that have no support. You know, early on, I want to go to the house where people were overdosed, right? That's a non-clinical perspective. But I want to make my way to the house where people are dying. You know, I had another friend that we know from the beautiful town of Boonton who died out of county last week that we went to Catholic school with, right? The child's mom. This is happening all the time. So I want to sort of get to the house where things are happening. But appropriately, the professionals say, listen, we got to go to the at-risk population. Okay? Homeless encampments, yeah, Morris County. Arguably the 6th wealthiest county in the United States, but it's a homeless population. And if you look at a point in time, a PIT study that was done on January 26th of 2016 shows it says 410 homeless. Right? 104 under the age of 18. Morris County. Okay? So let's go to the homeless encampments. Let's go to the soup kitchens. Let's go to places where people congregate that use substances. Well, I never thought that it would blossom to where we sit today from April 3rd to present, to be perfectly honest with you. I thought the concept was great. I thought we had the right people in the room. You know, we retrofitted the vehicle. We took it from drug forfeiture money at the approval of Prosecutor Knapp, who recognizes this as a disease. It's a great start. But I think it's real cool that our Hope One vehicle to assist people who are addicted and people with mental illness is being paid for by drug dealers. I like that. Okay? So we go out into the community, and as of this morning, prior to me walking in this room, because Hope One is parked right in the circle on Madison Avenue this morning. We've had contact with 1,934 people in the beautiful county of Morris who want some information from addiction. We've trained 558 people and provided them Narcan. So we've trained them on the use of naloxone and provided that Narcan to them so they could take that with them. 39 people were taken directly to a detox program or rehab recovery, and 41 were provided mental health services right on the truck. So let's a big shout out for Hope One. community, we see a new contact every 9 minutes out in the community. So we're collecting all these metrics so we can evaluate where we need to go next. We go out on Mondays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Our mission is to get people who are addicted, especially fentanyl and heroin addiction, opioid addiction. We want to get them when they wake up in the morning, and maybe, as the 12-steppers will say, they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And we can take them into the program. The second program that we instituted was on June 5th at the Morris County Correctional Facility. The Freeholder Board gave the Morris County Correctional Facility control to me back in January of this year. So we saw a need there to deal with addiction. Let's look at some numbers, okay? In the Morris County Correctional Facility, we have a capacity of 528 beds there. It would be tight with 528 beds. Our census this morning is roughly 230 people. However, we will see 3,100 people this year in our beautiful Morris County Correctional Facility. Okay? 3,100 people will walk through the door and will need, housing. The courts have placed them there. So we looked at surveys, and surveys by the inmate population, we found that 25%, 3 years in a row, said they're there because of their addiction. When we speak to the medical and the psychiatric staff, they say over 50%. So if we're going over that, we know we have 1,550 people that are coming into the Morris County Correctional Facility this year that are there for their addiction. What are we doing? We need to do something. We have a captive audience, right? We have a captive audience. So we offered a program called A New Direction. And when people come into the correctional facility, if they need to obviously detox, we may lose them for 3 to 5 days or whatever the case may be. They go through classification, they go through medical. We make certain that they can be with certain people. We make sure they're minimum or medium risk, no max risk people. And we invite them into the Hope Way, which if you've seen some of the work that's been done by the media, it's very, very, very stigma-free. And stigma-free posters all over the place, and we bang the drum on being stigma-free. So really, really happy with that program. We start off with a faith-based curriculum in the morning. We do anger management. We do repairing familial relationships. You think that's necessary? Some of these people already stole Daddy's gun collection and Mommy's silver set. They don't have support. And we have, go over about 84 different coping skills, right, that people need. Because at the end of the day, the average inmate in the Morris County Correctional Facility will be in there for 26 days. Okay? We ensure that when they leave, they have 4 things. They have someone to hand them off to. We have someone to hand them off to. CARES can help us with that, and they do. We want to make sure they have housing. Well, we have a tremendous group in Morris County, the Office of Temporary Assistance, that helps us with housing. Gary Gannon, my old partner in homicide, is running that program now, reports to Jen. So Gary and I can talk the same talk. Okay, so we have a treatment component outside. We have housing. We have employment, because we've identified employers that will take people who've had a bump in the road. That can help us, right, with that. And education. We're working on issues of education right now. One of us is a legislative issue as to giving the GED test in the correctional facility, which is not allowed right now. But partnerships with folks like VOTEC and County College and those types of things are things that are underway. Because if you look at the metrics from the Bureau of Prisons that were released most recently, we know that the higher level of education that people have, the less likely to be recidivists they are. So we know that people with not having their GED to people with their master's level of education, we know that recidivism goes down the higher you go in your education. So we need to work on those things. Now help people get employment and those types of things. Last piece, identification. People in the at-risk population in Morris County many times don't have identification. Okay, there's a gap with people between the ages of 18 and 54 that had no access to identification. So again, with a partnership with the Department of Human Services in Morris County, the Morris County Sheriff's Office, we offer identification to people at no charge. Some of these people come from the Correctional Facility. We know through their 10 fingers who they are. Okay? So we issue identifications at no cost. But some people have never been arrested. They just need identification. Maybe they're living at large, they got their wallet stolen, whatever. Listen, without identification, you cannot get blood work done. You cannot go to detox. I can have a bed in rehab. You can't go without identification. You know something? You can't rent a library book without identification. So we offer it. I got my hierarchy in the organization. I got Chief Eddie Crooker in the back, who's the chief of department, who ensures that people get their identification. As late as Monday, he got in his car and within an hour was in Denville with an identification for someone that needed to go in the house. That's the level of commitment that we have to this program, to all the programs. We see the person, not the illness. We see the person, not the illness. And I think the best quote is, do not judge by story, by the chapter you walked in on. We have to remember that with people. Everybody in this room's had maybe something. Don't judge their story by the chapter you walked in on. And thank you very much.